Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
Name's MacGyver.
Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
My name is Pratt. Ernest Pratt.
I always get a happy, tingly feeling when I see those guys.
Name one contract that I failed to execute.
MacGyver.
Oh, here we go.
You're a target. And I don't intend to miss.
Over my rotting corpse. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Glowing eyes, cliche behavior, evilness, that kind of thing. Is mental illness contagious?
You think?
You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind. Well, you do have a penchant for pulling brilliant ideas out of your butt. Head. Out of your head when we need them. Oh, the stuff's already here. I just find a different way to use it.
I like your attitude.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the MacGyver podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson. And today, I got my buddy Dean Aylesworth back on. I'm making an episode out of this because I knew, there's certain Stargate-y type of questions that I had. Not so much, well, we'll get there. But anyway, I was just going to chat and shoot the bull with my buddy, but I figured let's make an episode out of it because I don't like people having to wait so long for the next episode. So here's Dean.
Hey, happy to be here, man. It's a privilege. Every time I get a chance to catch up with you, Mac, and catch up with everybody else, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Honest to God, we're like I said, making an episode out of it. But I was gonna just touch base with you. I see, yeah. I was just gonna touch base with you anyway because I'm like, you know what? For the longest time, and I thought about this before the holiday. I'm like, I miss talking to Dean, and usually we catch up on somebody else's podcast or like a convention, the convention thing that we're part of. And I just thought, no, on a greedy side, I just want to talk to you because we always have such a good time.
Well, Mac, I feel the same way. Not to come off as cliche, but the last time we met, I really wanted to get further into our conversation about what we were talking about our ambitions and about how we dealt with COVID, how we dealt with the losses and the gains in some ways, and I truly did wanted to connect with you as well, which was why it was like a 24-hour turnaround, my friend. Yeah, as soon as you asked, I was right there. No, and I mean it genuinely. It's a privilege to catch up with you, to learn what's going on in your life and your family's life, and in all the things that are MacGyver and everything else included. Yeah, I love Richard Dean Anderson just as much as the rest of you. So
honest to God, well, it's so funny because I want to address this to the audience. I swear to God, I'm doing everything I can to get him on here. Because like almost every day I have people saying, hey, when's he coming on? It's a podcast about, him. Okay, yeah. But for those who are in his inner circle, he's very Jack O'Neill-like in the fact that he's easily distracted. So, I've had friends that are part of that, and they come to me and they go, listen, he knows about the podcast. He says he's going to be on, but right now he's in Hawaii, And I'm like, well, okay. So that obviously I know everybody wants that because duh, but look at the great people that we get to have on too. And because Stargate which was one of the things I'm dying to talk to you about. Do you know about the latest stuff going on with the franchise? Have you heard any of the rumors?
I want to talk about all of it. I want to lie. I want to cheat. I want to steal. Let's do it.
Well, okay. I don't know what you've heard, but the latest is like Amazon, I guess, has the Stargate franchise.
I've heard something of that rumor, right?
Well,
because it was originally MGM's.
It kind of still is. Like it's in conjunction with MGM, but Amazon bought MGM And so some of the people that are connected to it are trying to work with Amazon, and because you and I in the audience knows this is money just waiting to happen.
You mean smart people working in Amazon have decided to pursue this? Yes.
Well, and it's funny because I guess the people that are behind the show The Expanse are trying to make this happen. And I guess each day I hear something new. I hear negotiations are going well. I hear, oh no, they broke down, or and apparently, to put it in a nutshell, right now they also want to make what is the show or the video game Chris Judge does the voice for, Gods of War?
God of War.
God of War. They want to do they're doing a TV show of that. Well, Amazon doesn't want to spend, they want to put all the money towards that and not this show called Stargate. So like if they want, say, $10 million an episode, I don't know the money side of it. They want to give them half. And the guys who know the franchise are going, we can't work with that. It
sort of sounds familiar though, doesn't it? Isn't that what happened originally as well?
Is it? Well, no, I mean,
wasn't it always about they were never given the budget they were due, and I've never. It's not come from a bunch of people complaining. It's comes from a bunch of people that I've talked to who are complimentary of what we did with what little we had.
Right.
If I can spin it that way, I prefer to come from that optimistic perspective as opposed to being some negative Nelly.
Right. Well, I guess, I mean, there's some other behind the scenes type of thing which isn't necessarily all that interesting, but yet is creating the roadblock where I just wish one of us could be in the room for 5 minutes and go, this isn't an untested market. You have almost 20 years since the show went off, and people are aching.
Not an untested market, yes, right?
Right, and it also isn't a limited market. This is a show that can and should go on forever.
You just see the neighborhood cats.
I did see that. Where are you? You're in Mexico, did you say?
I'm straight up in Mexico, man. Yeah.
How come?
And these are the neighborhood cats that are in the area. Yeah, this is Socks.
I see it. Yeah, I see why.
Yeah, and I can't say that I look after her. My dear friend who is looking after me and making sure that I have a place to stay and that I'm safe and that I'm sound while I get my teeth fixed in Mexico. He feeds these cats. He loves these cats. He's even saved one of these cats, and it's turned out to be a beautiful, beautiful cat in his house. But he won't let him out the door, and I always feel so bad. So yeah, Mexico, new teeth. What do you think?
Great. Is that really why you went to Mexico?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple other reasons as well. I have. Speaking of what you were speaking of earlier, which is this tested whether or not there's a following for all things Stargate or actors or and performers such as Rick, you know what I mean, and wanting to do it and wanting to to not be ADHD, but also kind of can't being everywhere for everybody, right?
Right.
Well, in this case, I have been a part of, and this is sort of the cat out of the bag, but I've been a part of researching and finding a resort here in Mexico.
Okay.
For a convention in December.
Oh, all right, cool. All right. Yeah. I figured you went to there for work, maybe like an acting gig or whatever. And I thought that's not a bad place to be.
That's kind of the first incentive, that work. And we found a resort in Cancun, and like I said, it's probably going to happen first week or so in December. And stay tuned. I'll try and keep everybody apprised. Of course, it's not my job, but I'll.
Yeah, every little bit helps. Well, that one of the questions, not to sidetrack from what we were saying, basically, yeah, that's the latest. Is nobody knows, but they're trying to get this going, and I just want to be in the room to say, much like Doctor Who goes on forever, this is one of those shows that there's no reason why it ever should have shut down to begin with, whether it's a spin-off or what, because it seems like they're smart enough to understand that they need to have it continue and not do like a foolish reboot. Yeah, you have to continue it because you already have 30 years of stuff done. Why would you start from scratch and alienate the audience that's been fighting for it?
And an interesting and easy transition is to not reintroduce someone. You don't need to reintroduce Jack. You don't need to reintroduce Sam. You don't need to reintroduce the characters that are beloved of this show and this franchise. You can just integrate them into it and then update and just as they've done with and I don't want to throw any names around or any I don't want to besmirch anyone. I don't want to be handled in such a way that, hey man, you don't know what the heck you're talking about, which is probably very true when it comes to this franchise and when it comes to who's who and whatnot. But when trying to make it fresh and new, you need to bring in and this isn't once again an ageism issue. It's a matter of longevity. Bringing in sort of a younger crowd, a younger leading crowd, and I suffer from that long-toothedness myself, but of one of the youngest of the franchise, myself and Corin and a few other of us that have been able to still be able to maintain this I don't know 35 to 85 year age range.
Well, and you know what? Everybody, Rick, Amanda, all of them, Corin, have all said, we want to come back. If you tell me tomorrow, I'll be there. Because everybody thinks, well, can you get Rick? He's kind of semi-retired. He says,
for this,
I'm ready to go back. I mean, the only reason he left was to raise his daughter. Well, now she's in college. He's like ready to come back. So why would you not pounce on if you can get the original actors back? Plus, by the way, and not kissing your butt, but you could play a different part. You were in makeup when everybody knew you. So
happily, I would do anything. I'll get coffee.
I think that would be a waste of your talent, but sure.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. Well, okay. So
it would be a pleasure to do even that. Literally, I'm not kidding. Just to be a part of it, to be included, and to be able to continue this same journey with the like-minded and like-hearted people.
Yeah. So I mean, I pray to God Amazon realizes the magic that they have in the palm of their hand and doesn't go,
smart business move.
We'll cut your budget. You could do the show, but we're only going to give you half of what you need. Well, come on. Again, they're going to feel so foolish once this gets going, because I think we're that close. I think we're that close to making it happen.
Oh, good. Well, it's really got to be about story, doesn't it? It still has to be that, and it still has to, and I know I attribute a lot of what has happened and what continued to happen to Brad Wright. A lot of that as well from Mike Greenberg. So especially when it comes to the MacGyver thing and all the rest of that stuff.
Do you talk to Mike?
I have that pleasure and opportunity every once in a while. Yes,
Me too. Isn't he great?
He really is.
He's
funny to talk to, man.
Because I know. Well, we got going back and forth on Instagram because I tagged him in something, and I said, you're welcome to come on the podcast, and he goes, yeah, I will, but I want to have something to promote first.
Right on.
So I'm like, I get that. He goes, I normally don't do podcasts. I'm like, well, mine's a little different than others. I'm not going to ask you the boring 20 question. We as we have a conversation. It's not about, let's go down the list, But
Well, I mean, you do cover, I believe, Mac, without, this isn't about blowing smoke up your butt, but I mean, it's just a consistency of what's necessary, which is you do cover some of the interests of whether it be franchises or things that we're involved in. But then you also, you come from a personal perspective, which is one of the reasons that I'd be happy to anytime, any place, any time that I can, to engage with you, because it's genuine. It's not some push thing, and you haven't got some gotcha question that's about, canceling someone. So
right,
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that isn't that the whole point of the podcast, or we go off on tangents talking about this. You should be building people up, not looking to get it, get attention. Like our conversations are a celebration. It's, loving life and loving work that we're doing, and the fact that this is tied into a franchise is a nice bonus.
Really, right?
But had I met you on the street, I would love you just as much and go, I want to talk to that guy. Let me, like I said, I wasn't even planning on making this an episode, but I thought 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's do it.
Well, like I said, always a pleasure. And let's do it. Capture this. I could be dead tomorrow.
Oh, don't. Bite your tongue.
I got wood. I got some wood. I knocked on it. Okay.
Right there. So, all right, the 2 things, and I know we'll trail off on different things, but one of them that I wanted to hear from you on is you got to start to go back to an actual Stargate convention now that the pandemic is, if not over, at least not keeping us home. And other than my jealousy of not being able to get to Vancouver, which I believe is where it was, how was that? It looked like you guys had a blast.
I was absolutely petrified. No, I'm just kidding. I had the most fun. It was wonderful. It was really, really rewarding to be able to collect as many hugs as I possibly could. I gotta say, as much as I come off sort of mean mugging and look like a mean guy, I like my hugs, and GateCon provided. I certainly I stored them up, because that pandemic, I've been alone, the whole time, and single, and getting my booster shots and all the rest of the stuff, and just and all based on my own opinion and no influences or any of those other things, other than, of course, my management and agents, of course. But from all of that, it's a matter of thinking about opportunities and building things and making things, as opposed to, what's going wrong and what's happening and why is everything. Well, because everything is, sure, man. It's just changed, though. It's just like the seasons. It happens at least 4 times a year.
Well, was there a big difference once the con? How do I put it? I know I've done some and been to some where they still have the plastic between you and the person. Did you have to deal with any of that? Okay, that's good. That's good.
It was absolutely wonderful for exactly that. Like, literally, like I said, I collected hugs. We were, and I definitely like to get, anyone buying me a beer, I'll happily take one. Thank you. Sure. Yes. Okay. I can only handle maybe 3, but yes. Okay. Yeah. So with that, no plastic, nothing between us, and this is the same sort of thing that we're trying to arrange in Cancun, is this vacation with the stars with no velvet ropes and no, none of that none of those barriers. Of course, everyone's gonna want to be vaccinated. Everyone's gonna want to be at least safe enough to, and whatever that is, all political BS aside, is for us to feel safe, for us to be secure in that,
right?
Regardless of whatever and whoever's going to profit from that. It's for us, and that's why I go to these conventions. It's for us. It's not just for me. And mostly, I find that it is sort of vicariously just for me, but it's for me to be able to give my gratitude back, my gratitude for the support, for the unconditional love, for the the allowing me to be in your living room for even a moment and a blink of the eye. It's really been a pleasure. And when people think of you and talk about you and are a part of your everyday life, it's really quite a pleasure. And Cliff taught me that was something that was part of my responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about that, but that the audience, i.e. the people who go to the conventions of Stargate, are not ignorant or rude or
crazy or no, they're not. They're
right.
sincere.
Like,
they're genuine.
I have not had a bad. I'm trying to make sure. I've not had a bad experience with obviously anybody from the show, but also people around who could have gotten a little pushy or, you know what I mean, a little inappropriate or just obnoxious.
Nothing about the X-Files, Oh man.
So yeah, I was curious. Were you part of that table read that they did?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to do that. Are you talking about a gay con?
Yeah.
It was fun as hell. Yeah.
I saw a picture. I didn't get to hear it or see it, but I thought, oh, that must have been. I wonder if that was planned or like a spur of the moment kind of.
It seemed quite coordinated. Yeah, I thought it was well done. All in the name of entertainment and with some of the writers involved. It was really cool. Yeah, I thought it was fun. Yeah, and very innovative.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it isn't it funny too. I don't know about you, but I prefer. I know there's things that are scheduled, and here's your time between this time and this time to go up on stage and do your own thing. Because there's the Q&A, but there's also from 7 to 8 you're due on stage to do whatever.
Yeah, they gotta chase me down most of the time, brother. I'm outside having a cigarette.
Well, that was what I was saying. I always like the moments between all that. Like, I know you got to go up on stage and make sure you do your presentation, but it's the after hours or between hours that I think the real magic happens, because again, you're one-on-one with people.
Agreed wholeheartedly. What I try and do is strive to be consistent throughout the whole thing. The same person, the same persona, the same everything, just so I know what to keep coming back to. You know what I mean? So whether I'm on a panel, I'm trying to honestly and with as much perspective, heart, and some real genuine empathy for what a person who's asking the question, because they've taken the time, they've taken the energy. Sometimes it's even courage to ask the question. I want to be thorough about it, and it's at least genuine.
Oh,
and
sure.
That's the thing that's just been consistent throughout. It's been really easy to do.
And then the hardest part is, wait a minute, you're only giving me from this time to this time. Well, this person,
like, really?
This guy just asked a question that's going to lead me down a path that, because if you're like me, and I think you are, there's tangents. Like, all right, here's a story to tell you, and here's a story to tell you.
It's a loaded question. Yes, man. Yeah, it's
right?
Like I go on something else, and then I go, what was I talking about?
Right. Which, makes everybody laugh. But that's the beauty of it.
That's a sign of dementia. I don't know if that's
Well, no, I remember when Chris was on stage, he goes, listen, I'm warning you now, I have ADHD. So when you ask me a question, you will get an answer. But we're also going to talk about 5 other things. Yeah. And so he'd go off, and everybody's looking at him and going, this is the same guy who basically just says indeed all the time. This is completely, there's some good acting that he kept his mouth shut,
It's definitely some good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once again, a talent unused thoroughly. I agree. Yeah. And so much more time for him to play and have some fun. Yeah.
Or Dan Payne is another one. Dan Payne.
Quite articulate, right?
Right, and will bounce off the wall. You get him going, and he forgot what your question was, but you were still entertained.
Well, most certainly it's about, that's it, right? It's the consistency of being able to come back to whatever that Goofy or whoever that, original or whoever that authentic human being is you're always going to come back to that. And, sometimes some of us are lacking.
Yeah. Well, listen, the other thing before I forget, by the way, this will cut. I'll have to end up calling you back at some point because this Zoom thing kicks me out after so long. So it's not going to matter to you. All you're going to have to do is hit your email again, but I'll give you the heads up when that happens.
Yeah, man, I'm drinking the 6-pack. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, by the time we get done, I'll just see the top of your head and title this episode, the just say no. no when is when.
It's too late. It's too dark. That's one of the things about here in Mexico is that after 5 o'clock, it's lights out. Everything is good night, Irene. So yeah, we're just catching the right time of day.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about you, and I know I mentioned this to you when we were texting one time, but have you been watching the new Quantum Leap?
I have not. No.
Okay. Did you watch the original?
I did. I loved it.
Okay. So this picks up from the original. They were so smart and didn't do a reboot. It's a revival, which is great because for me, I'm like, tie it into Sam and Al. Talk about that. Get into the guts of what we already know, which they do, and they do it brilliantly. But
Scott Bakula's involved?
Not yet. They're trying to get him, which again, he's the guy who fought for this show since it went off the air, and now that it's come back, I don't know if they have some surprise plan for the end of the season. Because remember, Sam didn't get brought home, and the whole reason for this project is they're trying to bring him home. That's the catalyst for this new one. The original program got shut down. The government shut it down. So Sam was lost in time. Al, for the rest of his life, was trying to bring him home. Right.
Yeah, Al.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, in the show... or don't forget the... hitting the handling. Yeah. So
and was that Dean Stockwell?
Dean Stockwell. So the great Dean Stockwell.
I remember his name because it's Dean, and I'm so vain.
Well, hey, listen, with you on my mind, I was afraid I was going to tell everybody I have Dean Stockwell back on the show. I mean, darn it, Aylesworth. Honest to God, because the way that they write it is. And they apparently were talking to Dean Stockwell when they were starting to write this new show. He was going to be on it, but I guess he had dementia. And once they got the green light to do it, they were writing it and he passed away. So the way that they have it is that Al had spent the rest of his life trying to bring back the Stargate Quantum Leap project to try and save Sam. Obviously, he wasn't going to give up on his friend. Well, they write in that into the show, and the guy who's in charge of it, who's Ernie Hudson, he plays a guy named Magic. Magic was a guy who Sam had leapt into in Vietnam in the original show. So...
Yeah, no kidding. Did Ernie play Magic earlier?
No.
See,
No.
Didn't?
No, it was
wow.
it was a guy who, I mean, looked like him. Basically, it was during Vietnam. So it's a two-parter where Sam had leapt home into himself as a boy, and then leapt into his brother. Basically, the brother's original history was he died in Vietnam. Sam, while he leaps into himself, is trying to fix everything in his family. He's trying to stop his brother from going to Vietnam. He's trying to stop his father from dying of a heart attack. Well, when he leaps out of that, he ends up leaping into Magic, who's standing next to his brother a day before his brother was going to die in Vietnam.
Wow.
Right.
That's crazy.
And
That's some really bring it together
Yeah.
ADHD writing. Yeah.
So the fact that they tied that into this new show is great. But the reason I thought of you, other than to say it's a great show, you should watch it. One of the things that they do that this show does more than shows typically do is whoever the guest star is in an episode really gets the spotlight shown on them. So besides Ben, who's the new leaper in the show, his co-star has to carry a lot of weight for that episode.
I could do that.
This is what I'm saying. They were they were. I listened to podcasts that talk about it. There's one, Fate's Wild Wheel, and another one that's called the Quantum Leap Podcast. Well, they always make sure that to talk about how good the acting is of that week's co-star.
Right.
I kid you not, I thought of you, and I wanted to say to you, I don't know who your agent is, or if you handle
You are my agent now.
or if you handle your own sort of gig, but whoever it is, I beseech you, get yourself on that show.
All right. I have a principal photography agent in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and a manager out of Los Angeles. And where the heck else? Peaches.
Georgia?
That's it. Georgia and New York. Yeah, she's in all those places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and I just got a gig for a new television series called Transcendent Realms. I think I told you about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did, but go ahead.
Oh, well, hell. It's filming in New Mexico sometime this new year. We're talking about March. Yeah. And yeah, the studio there picked it up. I'm kind of pretty excited.
What's the premise?
It's not a lot I can really give away too much in the sense of because it covers the gamut. So Excalibur is involved somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I play a warlock. How's that?
Sure. All right.
I can conjure a fireball that can blow away a whole city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's about what I can do. I'm sorry.
No, that's plenty good for starters. But what I was saying was, you, and I've told you this before, are a darn good actor who I think deserves to be on a show like Quantum Leap because of the spotlight, and because I think, I'm watching these other guys and they are great actors, and I'm like, you know what, Dean, I got to see if I could get him to like try for that specific show, because
I would be happy to jump through whatever hoops they think is necessary for me to guest star on Quantum Leap. I audition. Like I said, deliver coffee. I do those sort of things.
Well, one of the producers is Martin Garrow from Stargate, so there's an in for you.
Maybe, yeah, that would be great.
And I know the shows like MacGyver and Stargate love to reuse great actors. Get in there.
Matt, just that you thought of me, it just means a lot to me, and that that I'm still moving and shaking and doing what I can, but that you thought of me, and that you thought of me in that same echelon of actors and performers. I'm really grateful for your thoughts and your kindness, and
you're welcome.
That support.
Well,
it means a lot.
You deserve. Well, I'm telling you, the couple minutes that you were in that Twilight Zone episode, I replayed it. I showed my family. I said, watch him do this scene, because it didn't seem like you. Like, your personality is completely different from what you played in that episode alone, that I'm like, yeah, that's, holy crap, this guy needs to get more work and have a bigger profile, that he's a more known name.
I'd be happy to.
That's why I'm thinking, Quantum Leap is a great showcase for a one and done. And it's also part of a franchise where, much like Stargate, where you would be remembered from that episode. Like people more, you know what I mean? They'd go, "Oh, the episode Fellow Travelers. Well, that had Dean Aylesworth in it." And
right.
You really would have to botch that pretty bad for people to go, "Oh God, that episode." You know what I mean?
I do, because of the writing. It's because of what exists. It's because of the building on what's already there. That's where the transformation really comes in. It's already there. It's already packaged. It's all my job as an actor is done for me, And so, like I said, it would be an absolute privilege, and I'd be happy to go through whatever and jump through whatever hoops are necessary to prove that that's something that I could do.
Right. And the other thing was that it wouldn't be a one or two liner. That's because there's parts I think, oh, yeah, okay. But that's just a couple lines. You're the guy selling a hot dog on the street. I'm like, no, he deserves to carry an episode. And this would be that type of franchise that I'm like, yeah, grab him. So there,
man.
I wanted to put the bug in your ear for that.
I agree. Yeah, we should get a really aggressive agent on that.
Seriously. You're on, I know you're on a little bit on Facebook. Are you on Twitter?
I've not. I've disdained or refrained or whatever the words are.
Only because the only reason, and I agree with you for the most part, except that if it had you been, and I'm going to do it anyway, even though you're not on there, I'm going to recommend it through my own little naggingness.
Sure, brother. I'm down for it.
To say to the producers, because every week when the show's on or after it's on, we go on there and say, this was great. We like this. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to try and put a bug in their ear ahead of time before your agent does their part to maybe just grease the wheels and see what happens.
I'm very grateful for that. I really am. And like I said, I always do you proud, man.
I know. Before we continue, I just want to thank a couple people who were kind enough to donate to the Patreon.
Good.
Because I don't make a cent. I do the two podcasts, the audio series, and a bunch of other music. I don't make a cent. So the fact that these people were kind enough to donate,
you should be monetized. Big time.
Thank you. Well, you know what? As you know, with
different channels that you can set up for, you can be monetized on all of those away.
Here's the thing. There are people who go, if you want to listen or you want to watch, you're going to have to pay. If anybody comes to me with that, I go, I'm not, there's other things that are free that I could do. So this has never been about money for me. It's about spreading the good word. It's making connections.
That's the thing that's gonna give you longevity, because it's the same thing for me. Like, I want to do a podcast to try and help people who are struggling to become professional actors, regardless of their age, regardless of their race, or where even they live. Even here in Mexico, but just the trials and tribulations that I kind of went through, and what the steps are in order to find, at least a matter of milestones. I can check this off. I did that at least.
Yep.
Things in your life. And that's the podcast that I want to bring. And just like you said, it's about helping. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to put out there. I'm calling it Take One with Dean Aylesworth. And
are you actually working on one?
I'm putting it together. Yeah, I'm trying to brainstorm 52 episodes so that I can. Yeah.
Look at you! Wow. All right. I mean, I'm telling you, from when we first met, you've come a long way.
I'm really grateful for it, and we just hit the milestone of 4,900 on my Facebook friends following.
Really? Well, see, there you go.
All natural, Mac. Like, that's no freaking buying anything, no boosting anything.
No.
All hard work, pushing the buttons kind of stuff. Every invite that I do, I actually put it out. I invite.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't you hate that there's like a cheat that some people try and do?
I really hate it. I think it's just so worthless. Oh, sorry, Mac, but I do. it's insulting.
Well,
that all the work that I'm doing is someone else is doing it, by giving $20 to a bot.
Well, it's the same thing. Like if somebody goes, you could buy their signature on a picture. Okay, but if I didn't get it directly from them, it means nothing to me. Like we live in a world now where it used to be, hey, if I met Greta Garbo, I'll ask her for an autograph. Great, but now we live in a world where I can get a picture with the person, which says so much more, than signatures are nice, but give me my arm around the person who's nice. That's right.
Yeah.
So the idea of people buying followers or like, that's not, you didn't earn it.
Right. Yeah. And it does come from our relationship, and reflectively, it takes years. It takes maintenance. It takes caring. It takes a genuine, actual interaction.
Effort? Yeah.
Right. Human interaction instead of this. Well, hey, Mac, this is all real business, and I don't want to get too involved about my personal life or any of that other sort of stuff.
Yeah. And friendships, there's people who you went to school with. You're not friends with them, but you're not as close as maybe you'd like to be, but because you got to make the effort, you got to reach out, you got to even do, which is why, we've said the social media could be a weapon or it could be a tool. And I use it besides letting people know, hey, the podcast, new episode with Dean Aylesworth is out. It's also about keeping track of friends who I haven't seen in years. Maybe they're on the other side of the country, but I can at least go, thinking about you. You know what I mean? So
I do.
You have to use it right. You can't cheat. So
that's it.
Let me say, there's two people recently who have donated. I'm sorry, people. I'm going to butcher your name.
You're bad.
Let me try. I don't know if they put it first name first or last name, but it's Leffler Esteban. Sure. And Basharan Merrill. It could be Merrill Basharan. I'm not sure, but in any case, God bless you for caring enough to throw a couple shillings our way to keep the lights on. Because even though I don't make a cent, it does still cost money to make these shows, whether it's paying for the server or what have you.
It's so cool that they pay, that they give you just even a shekel or two.
That's all I need, because it says so much,
right?
Yeah, it's somebody going, listen, I earn this money, but I like what you do so much that I'm going to tip you, and that's what it is. It's a tip. I remember playing a gig somewhere, and it was what was it? Killcoins was. I used to go twice a week, play my little heart out till 2:00 in the morning, playing my original songs or whatever I wanted. And a guy walked up and gave me, he goes, here you go. And he put it in the tip jar, or let's say it was my guitar case at the time. Yeah. So it throw some. Yeah, that's not smart. Well, this guy comes. Yeah, the guy came over, and it could have been something like that. And I thought, hey, threw $1 in. Wonderful. But when I looked at it after he left, because you don't go looking through it, you don't count your money while you're sitting at the table. Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
I looked. He gave me $20.
Nice.
I mean, and I think I saved that $20 ever since, just because of what it meant. Like, you didn't have to do that, and you thought I was good enough that you threw $20 at me. God bless you. So,
and the truth is that I don't know about you, but I remember the journey. I remember being a valet and getting a tip. I remember at Joe Forte's, which was quite an exclusive place in Vancouver, right? I remember being a waiter and getting that tip. I remember starting and having my own business, Dean's Dynamite Do It All, looking after people's homes, maintenance and window washing and all the rest of the stuff, and then getting a little tip on top of that. Those things mean a lot because it's a reflection of what you did with them and what they felt about it. And it's not about the monetary thing. It's about the respect. It can be as little as 10 pesos. You know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
sorry, pesos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the same like somebody putting their arm around you.
Yes.
Nobody has to do anything. And the fact that somebody will give you a pat on the back or whatever, or monetarily the same thing, nobody has to do anything. And the fact that they chose to, it does stay with you if you have a heart and a soul.
Yep.
Another guy who I just want to give a little shout out to, I don't know if you've listened to my audio series yet, but I write the MacGyver SG1 audio series. Well, I have to write it. I do the voices. I do the editing. It's all me. It's a lot of work. Well, sometimes people are inspired to do artwork for it. There's, how cool is that? Because it's MacGyver and Jack O'Neill find out that they're long lost twins. And so I get to write adventures for both of them together or separate.
I've seen so much of the artwork. I have to say, I pay attention because I've seen it.
Well, some of it's
wonderful.
Isn't it?
Wonderful. It is.
I mean, some of it's from me. If I'm putting out a new episode, I want to have fresh artwork to kind of intrigue people. Well, people like Marley Ward and a new guy, his tag name is Warlock Weirdo TV. He
Warlock Weirdo TV.
Yep.
I like it. Good handle, buddy.
Right.
Warlock Weirdo TV.
He goes by, and I guess in his real life he goes by Warlock. So I'm like, okay, but
Warlock it is.
Well, God bless him. He has been cranking out. I got him watching Stargate because he liked the audio series, but he had never watched Stargate. So I'm like, get ready for a show that will set the bar so high you will judge every other show after it.
Every other show. It's true, man. It's
right?
true.
And it honest to God is true because they hit everything perfectly and they covered so much ground and the characters. Well,
and angst and all of it, the greed and everything that came with it, the ambition and all of it. It was just. It was so complex and so real and so wonderful, and this is why once again I keep singing the praises of it. That I was a part of that because it's a conglomeration of artists bringing their art together, and a lot of wonderful minds agreeing to use the magic that they've got there, that they've captured, that people are willing to put into the pot, to make this wonderful salad that was and is SG1.
So, and that's why I said to him, I'm telling you ahead of time, you're welcome. And so,
Good job, man. Yeah, man.
And he comes back to me because a lot of times, and I'm sure this drives you nuts. If you sincerely give somebody a suggestion on something to watch or listen to, it could be music. If they don't follow up, that means they don't necessarily care about what you think. And I try to not steer people wrong. I think if I say to you, Dean, I want listen to this band or watch this show or whatever, I would hope that you cared enough about my thoughts and my opinion to go, you know what?
I will listen to that band, but you got to be ready for my critique.
Which is great, which is what the conversation is. But again,
it is a conversation. It is a tennis match. It is a give and take, and that's what a relationship is.
But if you say to me, Mac, you haven't watched whatever, check this out. Well, because I care about you and your opinion, I'll go, all right, I'll give it a shot. When people don't do that, it really is like a slap in the face because you're like, do you really not care? Well, this guy,
I'm gonna swear, Mac.
Right. This guy who hey, there it was.
Hey, I was ready for it.
Well, this guy who I haven't even met in person and who enjoyed my audio series just right from the get-go, he started watching it. Well, he's on season 2 now. And he goes, man,
dude,
you did not steer me wrong. I'm like, no. And you don't even, and you've never even met me face to face. Think about the people who could be in the same room and go, "Oh yeah,
You got
maybe."
10 more seasons to go. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I warned him too. I said, "Buckle up. It will not slow down. You will miss it when you're done with it, and then you'll rewatch it again."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great because this guy now he gets inspired by what he's watching or listening to and makes his own art. Well, thank God, because he's been cranking out some MacGyver SG-1 beautiful art. Yeah.
Twins.
Yeah. And granted, like I said, I don't make a cent, but when somebody cares enough to spend time creating something that I wrote, like inspired by what I wrote,
Very valuable.
oh, yeah. So this guy is in my corner. I'm like,
money. Yeah.
yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I got to say yay to those people because, as
Well
you know.
done. And with that also being said, it's the same feeling that I get when you're supporting me, Mac. How you think of me, and just in that little light of hey, you know what? I think he should be a player on this show. And Quantum Leap would really be they would win if they brought him in. They wouldn't be losing. It would be a great thing. And you just thinking of me at the top of your head, it's truly a pleasure. It's a nice and genuine thought.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And I'm a tough critic, so especially with music, like I don't love what everybody else loves, but what I do love, I love with all my heart. And I'll, if I like a band, I'm getting every single bit of music they've ever done.
Yeah, it's really on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kid you not when I, say to you, please make an effort because they would win over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I'll tell my Vancouver agents, and then we'll see what comes from that, and then I'll talk to my manager out of Los Angeles and Georgia Peaches, and New York, and see what becomes of that as well.
And when you get a second, check out the new show, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They're only 10 episodes into a 20 episode first season. They've already gotten picked up for a second season, and apparently they're not going to take a break as far as filming goes. They're just gonna they're gonna go right into the second season. And so
I have to say, Mac, it's certainly a prerequisite of mine to watch it, to not so much get caught up and be a fan, but to certainly watch it, to see the vibe, to see how things are going as far as reactions, and DOP has a lot to say when it comes to a series, and as much as our directors do, the DOP really sets a tone, and so it's wonderful to watch that and to try and integrate yourself into this tone. So, like you said, it becomes music, and we're in harmony, and that's why I'm happy and willing to do new and wonderful things, just to get into that same sort of symphony, if you will.
Do you know Michael Welsh?
I don't. No.
Okay, Michael Welsh. You'd know him if you saw him. He had been on an episode of Stargate. Well, he was in the very first episode of the new Quantum Leap. So it's one of those where you're like, okay, now they're getting good people. So all right, they're not just because you can tell when you get an actor who's not great, man, it can drag the show down if they don't know how to deliver a line. The audience really notices.
But the truth is that it's so difficult to butcher good material. It really is. I mean, it's there was this one guy, and I don't know if you've ever followed him or paid attention to him, but his career was something that I really want to aspire to, and his name was Paul Newman.
I've heard of him.
And you know who this guy is?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And that's how he brought it to the game. Is that that's where it is. It's all in that writing, in the embodiment of these words and this moment that we're in, to such a degree that we're willing to die. And I know it sounds a little melodramatic, but it's kind of It's where
No,
I want
it's your soul. Yeah, it's your heart. It's your soul. You care. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you know, yeah, I was thinking about this today. There are people who run the spectrum of oh, Tony Amendola is one end of the spectrum for me because he's very Shakespearean, and when he would talk about acting, he would get into Shakespeare in the Park and all of that. Well, then you have the people which I think I'm closer to in the middle of, yeah, if I get work, it's great and I enjoy it and I can have this deep conversation about the craft with you, but I'm not ever going to want to do Shakespeare. You know what I mean? And then you have the other side, which is way down here, where you get these morons who fall backwards into fame, and you go, you can't act. You shouldn't be on my TV. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be on my TV.
You're mean. You're mean. You're a
but
mean
you know
man.
you know what I'm talking about.
I totally do.
There are people who you're like, you don't know how lucky you are. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm watching them. Thank you. And you're watching them on like an award show. And I'm like, really? They're giving you an award? Really?
Golden Globes.
Really?
Yeah.
You had to have somebody else tie your shoes today, but you won an award. Okay. So.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like
as long as they give credit to the writers and the producers and the creators of the show, okay, good on them. I say good on them. Yeah.
Have you been?
I wish everybody luck. I mean, why not?
Well, sure. But I think the same goes for music. We'll just say entertainment overall. There are people who are fantastic and deserve much more than what they get. And that could be your guy at the corner bar who's singing his guts out, who isn't signed to a contract. Meanwhile, there's other people who need auto-tune, or God forbid they didn't even use auto-tune, but you're going to hear them on the radio every day. And you're like, no, there should be some sort of, right? And the same goes for acting, where you're like, how long is this guy's star going to burn? Because he should be thanking God that he gets his mug on TV, and
but that's also it's also fuel and fodder for these wonderful other shows and whatnot that just they viscerate actors and performers who are doing things that haven't, which aren't the job of being a performer, right? If you're doing something that's sort of off the edge and it doesn't bring something to the story, and it's maybe even a little visceral and less in this place. I don't know. I don't want to put a whole bunch of words into it, but I physicalize everything. Sure. And I try and in that moment. And this is why I can bring it to that life and death kind of moment. And so if someone's not as well, and I don't expect my other co-stars to be as committed as I am. I don't expect that at all. But if they're not committed, and I see that, it's a little. And sometimes you can get quite wonderful magic out of it because I'm gonna come after you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you better get the frick out of the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'll drive me nuts if I see somebody who's like, really, I'm looking at the guy next to you who really is a better actor. Like even what great example, and everybody knows this, Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is not an actor, and he knew it. He knew it. He knew it. Now the other three the other three were amazing, but poor Jerry couldn't keep a straight face most of the time, and the takes that they used
is the most amazing actress I have ever seen. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of the best of the best of the best.
Right.
She's up there with Lucille Ball. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, she's brilliant, and not just because of that show. I mean, no. I've watched most everything she's doing, and she's still to this very moment brilliant and alive, and visceral about what she's doing.
Right.
Committed to the art, to the craft, and that's it.
You'd watch Jerry, and he'd be he's supposed to be angry, and he's going, and they'd have to use that take,
Sure.
But again, when you see the outtakes, you're like, yeah, I could see why, because he'd crack up laughing all the time,
Totally. But it's the supporting cast that really kind of get you through all that sort of stuff. These stars are wonderful human beings that you don't really want to mess with their thing, right? And I certainly wouldn't want to mess with Jerry Seinfeld's thing doing that thing, right? Larry David and everybody giving everybody, and this is a show about nothing. It's like,
well,
what the hell? Okay,
my son, who's 14 now, we watch Mad About You on a regular basis because it's right, and it's so deep and it's so complex, and it's granted it's a sitcom, but it's everything all in one episode. You get serious moments, you get funny moments, you get so true to life moments. So
and that couple, and how they're dealing with their successes and their failures in their what they have as secular jobs. I know that guy was a freaking director. He was a documentary director.
Right.
I like that show very much, right? And all of that, because that actor brought so much to it.
Well, here's my point. Everybody always talks about how great Helen Hunt is, and she is. No, without a doubt, because she got the part because as she's saying stuff, saying her line, she's washing dishes and being able to do other things other than focus on just the line. Well, my son said to me the other day, we're watching it, he goes, I actually think Paul Reiser is the better actor. And I love that he said that, because I love Paul Reiser. I got to meet Paul Reiser. I converse on Twitter with him.
Yeah, freaking everything he's ever done. Yeah.
Everything. So, he's not just the guy who was a stand-up comic who got lucky and had a sitcom. He made the sitcom happen. He wrote the theme song. He played he's so multi-talented in just his own thing, but he can be funny, but man, he can be serious and do drama and heartfelt. And yes. And with all the little stutters that real life would have in a conversation. And the fact that my son noticed that, I was so proud of him. I'm like, yeah, you're really paying attention to the nuance, not just here's the setup for the joke, here's the punchline, and then we move on, which I think is like Friends did a lot of that. Friends was just, you could kind of predict the way the rhythm of the show was going to go. Where with Mad About You, I don't know even though I've seen them 100 times, I go, which one is this? Oh, this gets serious. Okay. They're going to have a big fight.
There wasn't a lot of bump. You know what I mean? It wasn't that
it was constantly moving. Hey. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There was always this relationship, this thing that was even the title of the freaking show, Mad About You. It had to be about that craziness that they felt for each other. And she did such a wonderful job of that generating of that. Paul Reiser, I think, is a genius. I think he's a genius. I've seen him from I've watched him from Diner to all the way through, and even to this very last thing. Sorry, I was going to swear.
No, it's
the last thing he just did.
Reboot. Reboot was it called? Or wait, it's all right. You know what? You're going to make me look it up because it's going to drive me nuts. Paul Reiser. He was in Stranger Things, obviously.
Yes.
But his latest thing is, come on, give me the name. Come on. It's Reboot. I think it's called Reboot. Give me 2 seconds and I'll tell you for sure.
That cartoon thing?
No. Reboot. It's called Reboot. They've done 8 episodes. And it's basically a show about a sitcom that they're rebooting 20, 30 years later. And he's the creator. He plays the creator of the original show, so they bring him back.
It's going to be good. It's going to be great.
Oh, you know what? You know what he was in? I don't know if you watched it. And again, we're going down rabbit holes, but who cares? The Kaminsky Method.
Yeah.
Okay, with Michael Douglas
And Alan Arkin.
and Alan Arkin. I
Freaking
watched that.
amazing.
I just watched this last year. Holy crap! What a great show! And to get the surprise of the bald guy with the ponytail, that's Paul Reiser in like heavy makeup.
I know, right? It's
I mean,
so lovely.
I mean, I've watched him do serious parts, and comedy, and to make each be natural is he'll sell himself short. He's one of those great modest guys that goes, not that good.
It's how I feel about Jason Bateman.
Yes. Yep. I love Jason Bateman. Hey, I'm probably a little younger than him. I'm 47. I remember him on Silver Spoons. And I remember being a kid looking at another kid and going, I like him. And I wasn't acting at the time. I'm a kid. I'm a little kid watching a show, and I'm like, all right, Ricky Schroeder's great too. I see why he got the show, but that other kid.
But this kid's having fun.
And then when you see
kid is enjoying himself, and he's doing a great job of it.
And when I would see him on something else, I'd go, yeah, he deserves it. Keep it going.
Yeah. I completely agree. It's not about like really just, it's not just being a fan. It's just watching somebody grow and procure their professional guys, all of the things that make them themselves, that make them individually themselves. No one else can be Jason Bateman. No one else can be me. No one else can be you, Mac. It's all an accumulation of all the things that we've been through, that we've, whether it's trauma or joy or belief, whatever else it is.
Well,
that's our makeup.
And the other side of it that makes me like somebody, I always say, I like you despite your fame. Like, seriously, because not the wealth. I'm the ego.
Not the wealth. We like rich people. Yeah.
Like anybody that I like, we could, Richard Dean Anderson, a great example. Despite MacGyver, despite Stargate, he's a good guy, and he's kept his nose clean, continues to be inspirational. Not just a guy who stays out of trouble, right?
No,
he's a giver. He's not like the William Shatner's.
Not a taker at all.
William Shatner would steal lines from his cohorts, where Rick would go, yeah, I know that's written for me, but I think Daniel would do better at it. I think that's a Daniel kind of, and shine the spotlight. And I know we've talked about this. So I think Jason Bateman is one of those guys too. Like, he's still a good guy. He's a household name, but he's not an a-hole. So that alone would make me go, I'm going to go see anything that you're in because, you know.
Well, and that's really the true nugget, the through line, if you will, for all of these series, whether it's Quantum Leap or MacGyver or SG-1 or any of these things, is this through line of people really caring about how their interpretation of this thing comes out, so that they know that the heart that was put into it by the writers and the directors and all of the people that crafted this is shining in this moment in the actor's voice and in their candor and all these other things. But to get the credit for it is unfair, because it truly is a collaboration with everyone else. But if the actor doesn't take all of those things into consideration and doesn't honor those other people, then yes, I think they're certainly they're up for slander, those fuckers. I mean,
well, my mother always talks about, you could have gone to New York, or you could have gone to LA to pursue your acting or your music or whatever. And I said, yeah, but I could still do that here, especially in today's world. 20, 30 years ago, it might have been a little harder. A lot of things we can do from home. And why travel to New York if I wouldn't need to travel to New York to whatever? Well, the other side.
Are we recording yet?
No. Oh crap! I forgot to hit the button. Son of a bay.
I'm the one who's drinking.
Yeah. I actually had that happen. I had a great 45-minute conversation with somebody.
No.
And the button didn't get pressed. I'm like, oh crap. And we had to start again. I said, try and act like this is all natural the second time.
Yeah. Boy, it sounds so much better the second time. And you've elaborated on things that I didn't hear before the first time.
But I said to my mother, yeah, but I wanted to make sure I didn't want to move. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have kids. I wasn't going to be able to do that if I was too busy chasing the star. And now that I know that I can do a lot of my stuff from home, more the better. But I say that because, I think God was looking out for me too. If I had dove headfirst into that world, whether it be acting or music or whatever, it's a very hard life. And even if I was successful, I think the stress on the keep going, you got that part. Okay. Don't suck at it. And then when you're done with that, run to your next audition. And then you got to, and if you're lucky and you're successful, it never freaking ends because you got to do that interview. And now you got to go on this talk show. And then you got to, your manager has to fight for this part. I don't know how well I would do with that. I'm not saying I would mess up or be a horrible human being. I just wonder if I would burn out. You know what I mean?
These are valid and valuable questions, and why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
sure.
At what point do you sit back and relax? Because now, wait a minute. Now you got to keep going. Don't forget you have that audition you got to go to, or whatever.
That's kind of it. It's not. There isn't a place where you sit back and relax. It's a matter of integrate this into your life, integrate this into your growth, and integrate this into your relationships, into the scripts that you're reading, into the way you say hello and the smile that you give. But integrate it all. Be better by tomorrow.
Think about like you said, Paul Newman, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows freaking Paul Newman. Paul Newman, if he walks out his door, people were coming to him. That's a lot of pressure because, again, like you said, you want to be sincere and you want to give and you want to, hi, how are you? And I think at one point you just go, holy crap, I gotta sit down.
What it takes is a certain amount of filters, right? Mm-hmm. Just like we do in our lives, and how we learn to have friends, and how we learn to is by experience with those people and with interaction with other people who we may not or do have some sort of influence over or integrity with or even past relationships with, that are going to help us guide our perspective on who we let into our lives, who we let into our personal hearts, and for me, it's the circulatory. I'm not trying to ingest experiences, but I'm trying to have them, as opposed to. Do you get what I mean by that? Maybe I'm drinking too much.
No, I got you. So yeah, but what we were saying about that level of attention, I understand why Rick or Harrison Ford is the same way. He says, I work in Hollywood, I don't live in Hollywood. Like, he gets the heck away. I think about the people who, no, I'm going to live in New York City. I'm going to, constantly be in the heart of what. That's tough. I assume that's got to be, and you think, oh, when I make it, when I'm a household name, when people, in your case, they know me on Stargate and X-Files, and I'm a new. Well, no, because people do know you. I mean, people know Anubis, and the more successful, the more high profile you get, you think, I'm going to do it. I don't know if I would really want to be that level, because money's nice. Knowing that you're going to work the next day, also nice. But I think mentally, I understand when people back out of a role or whatever, because they go,
Oh, totally. Well, what I can give you the positive side of all of that, Mac, and that from my perspective is that I wish to continue to grow. I want to grow. I want to continue to be better at what I do.
Mhm.
I want to expand my horizons. I want to produce. I want to create. I want to continue this storytelling journey.
Mhm.
And if I'm not committed to telling good stories, it's true. I think that it's a matter of taste, I guess, in a way. That if my tastes that I have acquired through just like wisdom, through knowledge, through watching shows, through listening to your suggestions as to what's a good show, and watching it and seeing and thinking and partaking. All of those things are a job in the sense of growth is concerned. But when it's just sort of bought into the acting thing, I think one must be concerned about whether or not that's going to fulfill oneself. I find for me that I would prefer to have my life full of the things that are fulfilling in my life, as opposed to trying to acquire them, always being some one step ahead or away from me, so that I can actually enjoy myself.
Sure.
Enjoy even the poverty that I find myself in some cases, and the struggle and the journey. I am truly grateful for all this stuff that I'm learning, even if it's not easy.
I think your perspective is good. I think it's healthy. Because you're talking about the journey and the fun of acting and looking at a character. I think it's a matter of balance, really. You know what I mean? I think
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think, yeah, okay, I could. There have been times where I'll get, depending on the moment, a lot of attention, a lot of focus on me, whether it's for music or whatever. Great. But I'll tell you, the moment that starts to, like, all right, I've done the interview, I've done the show, I've done the whatever, boy, you go, I don't have to try so hard for a couple weeks. Like you were talking about how, I have the podcast and the audio series, blah, blah, blah. I find myself, and I think this is a good thing. You tell me. I find myself having to make, it's almost like an addiction, because I'm doing this podcast because I wanted to put something out for people. But then next I got to do that other podcast. And then when I'm ready to write, I got to write. Well, it's an addiction to keep, like you said, keep the journey going, keep creating. I find myself now, I have to make an effort to do nothing. I have to go, this weekend, I'm sitting on the couch and that's it. You know what I mean? And boy, I have
turning
a heart.
Off the news, even turning off all of the other stuff and just giving me 5 seconds of just me, even if I'm wrong. But I need that 5 seconds of me. Yeah.
But I find myself going, I'm watching something, but I'm going, you know what? I could start writing the next episode. I wonder if I can ask that guy to, maybe he could do a voice. And I'll go, stop it. We just, relax.
Just quit that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess it's a good place to be, because at least, like you said, you're being creative. You're on the journey. And if I'd rather be that than the other way, where I'm so lazy and I have to kind of drag myself to do anything.
Or finding yourselves battling, and I think of as a struggle of with regret. with the thoughts of what
Yes.
I should have or could have or must have or didn't do. And it's like, come on, man. What can you do tomorrow? What can you do? How many more push-ups can you do? How many, I don't know. How many more teeth can you get fixed?
Here's a great example. I started acting as a kid. I went to an audition on my own. I could have started sooner. My mother and her friend took me because they saw something. So they took me to watch a rehearsal of something, and they knew the director, and they're like, and at the time I'm like, no. Well, a couple years later, I end up on my own biking my little hiney to an audition, got the lead role, and it was great. However, that's all nice and good, but I didn't do anything in high school. Wasn't part of any sort of extracurricular activity. I didn't do any plays. And my thought was, I need to focus on school, right? But I didn't have that drive that I have now. And I'll tell you, I'm so proud of my two kids who are acting right now. They are part of the drama club. They are doing the extracurricular things that they don't have to do. And I allow it because, thank God, they have better grades than I did in school. Both of them. They make the principal's list, straight A's, if not darn close. Yeah. And I allow...
Your wife's genetics help.
Right? And they're pretty too. But, I think about that, and you're talking about the regret. I think back on those years, and I think I always drew, I always sang, I always acted, but I didn't do the extracurriculars like I should have in grade school and high school. It wasn't until college where that really, like I had an English teacher who really awoke the writing, the whole idea of the joy of creating words and putting images in your head. And
I don't believe that it's until our 20s really that we get it out to the world. I started writing poetry and whatnot since I was 14.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's all in dyslexic writing.
I remember you saying, yeah. but
it's great. It's great poetry from 14.
But you were doing it, whether it was great or not. Like I tell my son, who I taught him guitar. Well, now he's really going. He's on his own. He's looking up songs, but he's still not comfortable singing in front of people.
Okay.
And I get that. I'm a singer.
Well,
I want him to sing, but he's getting there. And he's like me, his own worst critic. And I'm not going to push him. I figure when he's ready, he will.
Singing and acting, I've always measured those two in very, very high esteem. I always held singers, especially musician singers who write their own music as well, that they don't have a facade to hide behind like us actors do. And that they give their whole everything to that music, to that thing, without, like I said, this mask that we as actors can put on to protect ourselves from whatever else that we think might be coming at us. I have such a great admiration for singers who do it in the raw and that sort of, Well, I'll even go as far as to say that there's one young lady out there right now who I think is quite brilliant, and her name is Miley Cyrus. I think she's quite amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
making strides. She sees the industry and she's a part of it. She's an icon. She came from Disney. She recognizes Dolly Parton and all of those works that come from it. These are the reasons that I think that.
I'll tell you what helps as a songwriter or singer or whatever is that being your worst critic. Like, and I know the people who aren't, and it shows. You know what I mean? You wrote.
I'm just great. Yeah.
Well, I rhymed love with dove, and I wrote I'm gonna fly high.
Twice.
Oh, that's you know, like you could tell the songs where they were written very quickly and it's very easy rhymes and nobody was in the room to go, you could do better, you know.
You can do better than that. Yeah. I hope that that I'm not coming off it's as far as visually.
No,
I hope
you're
that
fine.
It's okay.
You're good.
Okay, good. Yay!
Yeah. You're better than me. My screen for the last bunch of podcasts have this like film over it. And I don't know why. I think maybe I have to get a new camera or something. But
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
No,
You
good.
look good.
Good.
I think you look good. Yeah. See me, I'm worried because there's no sun anymore, and
no, the spotlight's right on you.
On the little light. Okay, good.
I got a kick out of your text before. You're like, I gotta set up my lighting. I gotta make sure I look good. And I'm like, no, I get it. Yeah, you don't want to look like a schlub. I got you. I'm with you.
Old and fat like I am.
Yeah, sure. Before we go, I'm dying to know what movies and shows you're enjoying at the moment.
I am enjoying a whole bunch of different things. Well, first and foremost, of course, and this is going to be a cliche, but he won a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Television Series just recently, but it's Kevin Costner's Yellowstone, of course. Okay. I keep revisiting Jason Bateman's Ozarks.
Sure. That just finished, right?
Yeah. And you know, the thing that I, and the reason that I do that is because I'm inspired by their writing and directing and acting and producing of these projects. Mm-hmm. I wish to aspire to that same degree of work, and so I'm really enjoying those things. And then of course, I've watched this one thing on Netflix that just does it for me. The actress is just freaking amazing. It's called Russian Dolls. I don't know if you've
Isn't
seen
that
it.
Amazing? 2 seasons so far. So good. So good.
She's so great.
Right?
And she's so great. And she's so great. She's so great.
It starts off for me, I'll tell you, it started off like she's not a likable character.
No, she's a
crass.
Bitch. She's a smoking, and she's even derogatory to her own people. But they do the time loop thing where you're like, oh, you got me. I'm hooked. I'm watching this to the end. Right? Yeah.
And then the second season goes in a different direction. Oh, yeah. You end up rooting for her.
That fucking bathroom, though, I gotta say.
I'll tell you, I looked up that song. That's
no, you didn't.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Harry Nilsson's song. I'm like, you know what? Darn it, they got me. It's an earworm stuck in my head now. I gotta find it. And all because of that show. Yes. I hope they do another season.
Yeah.
What's her name? Natasha?
Yeah, she was in freaking Dawson Creek. This girl's an amazing actress. She's really good.
Orange is the New Black.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up.
I think she produced that shit too. Sorry.
No. Doll. I'm trying to make sure I get, because I think she has a new show too. I mean, you're right. She is in everything.
She's amazing.
There you go, Natasha Lyonne.
Okay. Yeah.
But like the whole cast was great. And then that second, I'm like, wait, you're doing another season. Part of me says yay because I loved the first season, but how are you going to do it? And then they change it. You're like, oh, it's a Subway now.
Right.
Okay.
And the second guy and everything. Oh, it was so good. Yes.
So good. So I don't know if they're going to do another season.
I don't know how they can, but it's worth watching. That's for sure.
So did you watch Dahmer?
Well, The Boys, of course.
The Boys. Okay. I'm on I think I just started the 3rd season. You know, that's based on a comic book.
Yeah.
That was just as graphic. You know, very shocking.
It's off. It's off. There's my friend Andrew Jackson. I think you've talked to him.
I have to get him on the show. He's a friend on Facebook.
He played one of the guys in that show who, well, I can't say anything because it'll be big spoiler alert, but he has a large penis.
Oh, good for him. Is that anything
Yeah,
to do
there
with
you
the
go.
show, or is it just him in him in the shower room?
How would I freaking know?
We're at the urinal, and I
In the
look over,
show,
and
he's got a really large penis. Let's put it that way. Well, like I said, there's too much of a spoiler alert. I don't want to give too much away, but he's the penis guy. You'll see. There's a
isn't
character
Paul
on that
Reiser in
fucking
that
show.
too?
I think he is. Yes, exactly.
See?
Yeah.
Oh man! But did you see Dahmer?
I haven't. I'm scared to watch that. That's
Watch
just
it.
really not
It's-
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it had the potential
I
to
like
be
that
not
actor.
cool. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Here's I understand your hesitation, and I was thinking, oh, I don't know how much of this I'm going to watch, because if it's just graphic for the sake of graphic, it's not that. They come at it in such an angle that even though you know the story, they explain a lot, and it's not about the shock and awe like a lot of shows are. Like The Boys is very much about the shock and awe of, right? Well, Dahmer is more about him. And then it's not just about him, it's about the people around him that he affected, like his neighbor, Niecy from Reno 911. Niecy Nash.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, she's good. She's good.
She plays his neighbor.
I've seen all the previews. I'm so freaking. I don't know. I'm.
They
scared
focus
to watch
on
it.
her just as much because
Good.
she's the neighbor going.
Right?
Could you guys check out what's going on?
This is real life stuff, and it's wonderful performances and really, really good.
Amazing.
As an audience member, these are shows that I have issues with because I think they're so wonderfully done, and they're well produced, and they're well acted, and they're well choreographed, but in such a way that they're too damn good. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm scared to watch this
Well,
stuff.
I was afraid because I thought it was going to be graphic. I thought, because we kind of live in that world now where, you're supposed to be rooting for a bad guy.
I want Hitchcock again. I want to see the ball that bounces out into the street, and the kid running for the ball, and the ball, and the kid, and the ball, and then the car, and then the car, and the ball, and the kid, and the car, and the ball, and the kid. But I don't want to see the bloodshed. I don't want to see the actual accident. I just want to have that visceral in my brain.
Yes.
See, that was the thing about the movie making in that era, in that way of that suggestion. They call it the suspension of disbelief. It's such a job that we as audience members have to do, to engage in as well, in order to be able to do that. But that takes what a filmmaker or a storyteller it needs to do, which is to introduce those characters, have us give a crap about those characters, and then continue on the journey of what is in their way in order for us to culminate the ending or the climax of this journey.
Sure.
And that's, I'm not trying to make it, here's the cake and but that's kind of it.
No, I agree. Well, for me, it's a lot of, ever since shows like Sopranos or Mad Men or Breaking Bad, it's all about, well, you have to realize that everybody sucks, but you have to pick someone to root for. So you have to root for this bad guy because he's not as bad as the guy that he's going to kill. And and I'm just like, no, when a show or movie is over, I don't want to feel bad about myself or the world. I want to be uplifted somehow. You know what I mean? And I'm waiting for that kind of feeling of shows to kind of go away. Which is why I haven't watched Yellowstone, because Yellowstone, I believe, my father loves it, is that sort of thing. It's there's bad things happening, and I'm like, I don't,
It's hard because there's so many other things that are coming with it. Excuse my grammar, but Harrison Ford has also done the spinoff for for that same television series.
Yeah.
Prime. No, it's not Prime. It's Paramount Plus. And his is the early days of 1897
or something.
Yeah. I can't see someone of that caliber walking into something like that without it being fabulous. And then Kevin Costner was already the one who put it together in the first place. You know,
Oh
the
yeah.
Oscar award-winning director, let alone actor, let alone producer.
Well, that's how they get you.
Yeah.
I mean, all these shows that I said, you know, because I did watch Mad Men, I did watch Sopranos and Breaking Bad. You can't, besides the thing that I said, they are brilliantly written, acted, directed, and that's how they get you. That's why they lure you in, because you're like, man, you make me feel bad, but boy, you're really, really good at what you do.
Yeah. That's
right?
why I like being such a bad guy. That's why I like doing it, and then getting that recognition for being that bad guy. It's just so rewarding. It really is, because there's always so many layers that one puts into these things that sometimes when an audience member recognizes it and acknowledges it, it's really very, very, very rewarding. It really is.
Sure.
It means the work we put into it has come to fruition, and it's quite lovely.
Have you seen the Knives Out movies?
I haven't, no, but I do like Daniel Craig quite a bit. I think
Buckle up.
Actor.
Buckle up. Yeah, I mean, it's very much that old school whodunit Hitchcock type of, you know, you guys in a room and we're going to figure out who did the bad thing kind of a thing. It's so good. It's so good. They just came out with the second one, and you know, it's I hope they just keep making them, because it's that sort of like, I like this guy, and they it's not straightforward. You think you know what's going on, and then they turn it. And then you get used to that, and then they turn it.
I haven't seen it, but what I like about it, and sorry for interrupting you, Mac, is that it's such an ensemble, that it's such a masterpiece of people who are putting together well-crafted characters, and just even moments of them are being used. And that's the mastery of movie making, and I really like that stuff. I just get off on it. I know it's sad.
I think you'll love it. I think it's on Netflix, actually.
Cool, man.
Cool. And I watched The Menu, which is kind of along that line. It's like a black comedy. You know what I mean? Where there's death and blah blah blah, but you're supposed to kind of laugh.
I heard something about that. Yeah, I got a couple buddies of mine that in the new television series Tulsa Kings.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about it. But Alan C. Peterson is a dear friend of mine. He played the I don't know what character he played, but it was like one of the big mafia guys, like the big head guy who's got the nose thing on. Anyhow, I haven't seen the show. Alan C. Peterson, Alar, it's a great actor.
I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. Let me, you know, you and I know we can go on and on and on. And I'm sure, are you part of the, you going to do the collaboration convention in February? The online thing that we typically do?
I'm open to all of it, of course.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know if I'm invited or not invited. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. It was supposed to happen in December like usual, but then they bumped it to February, which I think is smarter, because people got crap going on in December.
We're definitely going all in for the whole Christmas thing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And this is what and reiterating the it's called Cuckoo Con is the name of the convention that's going to be happening in December in Cancun. And we're looking at like 10 guests and, you know, a whole bunch of fun. We're going to go on excursions and do all these amazing things, like go to Chichen Itza and Tulum. And
oh, man.
Yes. And then, of course, you know, panels and all of the what usually goes on at a convention. But in this case, it's a vacation with the stars. It should be super duper fun. And that's what sort of reminded me of what we were just speaking of. Yeah, super duper.
Well, the reason I mentioned is because I'm pretty sure we'll end up hijacking their con too with our, you know, the way we go on tangents. And they're like, listen, we shut off the podcast 2 hours ago.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're just watching you drink now. Yeah.
Right. But if you're not on there, you know, I'll check in with you. And if we chat, we don't have to even make it a podcast. I just, like I said, I miss my buddy and I wanted to check in
I
with
like
you.
having podcasts with you, man, and you can use everything or not use nothing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's up to you.
yeah, I'll use
Like
it
you
all.
said.
Well,
Like you said, it's about catching up. Really, it's about getting to see each other and thinking about you and your family and how everything has gone so far. That's most important to me, Mac, and
yeah.
I know it is to you too.
No,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm like, you know what? I feel greedy, but no, I got to bug Dean. I got to see if he's available because I'm in the mood I'm in the mood for a good deep conversation, and you always deliver.
Oh, thanks, man. It's only because I'm drunk.
Oh, good. Hey, one last thing.
Yes, sir.
I thought of this. Are you up for? I haven't written it yet or anything like that, but would you be up for doing a voice on an episode of the audio series?
Of course I would. Yes,
Yeah,
as long as you don't mind Brooklyn, because there was these boys. They were sitting on the toilet, and they was biting and chirping. And
Hey, yo, you know what I'm saying, Adrian? Yeah.
And we get coffee every once in a while,
I think I told you, if I get going on like a Rocky accent, it's hard to get out of because I'll get so deep into it. But what I was saying was it popped into my head because, like I said, I typically do the voices, but I thought, wait a minute, I have friends who actually act, who like Charles Payne, I had come on and be Breeze on an episode from MacGyver because I thought, wait, if I can get Breeze to be Breeze, why not? And it's a 5-minute thing of talking into your phone, send me the zip file, and it's done. It's not like it's hard to do. But I thought, yeah, that'd be nice. If I come up with a good enough part to bug you with, I'll do that.
Okay, man. Well, I'm here. I'm willing and able. I really appreciate all your help. But sometimes I'm available and sometimes I'm not. But in this case, Mexico, get my teeth done. It seems to work.
Good. Well, down the road, I will bug you for that. And in the meantime, I'll do a little pushing for the quantum leap thing for you.
Okay, man. 10%.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
10%. Good. All right. Well, you have a good night, and it was great catching up with you.
It really was, Mac. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate all the support, all the love, all the guidance. It's been a lot, Mac. I really appreciate it. So nice to catch up with you again, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. I will talk to you later.
Okay. Peace.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
The MacGyver podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network and made possible by donations to the Forever Adventure Network by Mac Jackson on Patreon. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever podcasts are heard. And follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember, stay creative, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.